Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm Robert Theobald, Small Business Ombudsman and Vice President of Small Business Services here at the Arizona Commerce Authority, and we're glad to have you with us today. While we're getting started, if you could go ahead and post up in the chat where you're tuning in from. We'd like to see what parts of the state and sometimes out of state and even out of country we have people joining us from. So again, in the chat, post up where you're tuning in from. Austin, Texas, Banana, Tucson native, excellent. Tucson, Kingman. Oh, yeah, Phoenix. Again, if you just joined, please post in the chat where you're tuning in from. Phoenix, excellent. Well, let's jump right in. We got a great presentation here today for you. So if you're new to the Small Business Bootcamp, we'd like to start by thanking all of our community partners. We cannot do these webinars without them, their time, their effort, and their expertise. They make this possible. The Small Business Bootcamp is designed to help small businesses prepare, plan, and grow. And we do that through our Tuesday morning, 9 to 10 a.m. webinars every week. We do it by virtual workshops and even some hands-on workshops. And we bring in local business leaders and subject matter experts to share their expertise and information that can help you as a small business owner run your business better is the goal. So another great part of the Small Business Bootcamp is the content library. And the content library is where we house all of our recorded webinars and workshops and all the virtual ones we record. So today's session is being recorded, and you'll be able to find it later today or tomorrow in the content library. You can download the slide decks, review the recording. And so if you can't make it on Tuesday morning, you can access the materials in the content library. The ACA also has a number of other programs that can help support small businesses. The key there is you can find them at azcommerce.com/programs. A lot of great programs besides these that can help support small businesses. One of those programs is the Small Business Checklist. And we like to talk about this because it is a great place for new businesses, entrepreneurs looking to start a business, to identify the commonly requested licensing, registration, and compliance requirements at the local, state, and federal levels. So if you're looking to start, you can go there. If you're looking to expand your business into new communities, you can go there and identify if those communities you want to expand into require business licenses or not. You can also identify if the business you're wanting to start has certain local or state or even federal requirements tied to the type of business or the business activity that you'll be doing. So it's a great resource. And again, there's no cost for it. You can scan the QR and it'll take you right to it, or you can go to our website under Start Your Business, under Start and then Small Business. We also like to share some updates, a couple of things up in Prescott. The Prescott Chamber is doing a Vets Connect quarterly business mixer on Monday, May 6th. There is in-person registration required, but it's a great event, and the Vet Connect program up there in the Quad City area is excellent. Also, we have our upcoming Phoenix Business Journal ACA workshop on what is a PEO, Professional Employment Organization, and how can it help your business grow. It's an in-person only event, and we'll post the link to register for that. There is a slight fee with the Phoenix Business Journal on that. But it's going to be a great workshop. If you're not familiar with PEOs, if you have a handful of employees even up to 50 employees, a PEO can be an awesome resource. So we're going to dive deeper into that business model. Also, we currently have the applications open, and as you can see on there, they close this Friday for our spring Small Business Digital Academy cohort. This is a 3-week program that takes place on Monday afternoons from 3 to 5 p.m. There's 3 sessions, and we bring in mentors and experts, and we go through some of the digital things that your business has to do as you're getting started and to grow your business. So it's a great resource, a great opportunity to leverage some of our marketing expert mentors during this cohort where they can help you out at no cost. So take a look at that if you're interested. And then finally, our upcoming sessions. Next week is the hidden cost of living out of your business. This is a really important session if you think you might want to sell your business someday. It's really going to be helpful to understand some of those costs that you take as a business owner, because you can, and how it can impact the value of your business down the road. We're really excited about it, so we encourage everyone to attend that, especially if you want to sell your business at some point in the future. And then on May 7th, we're going to talk about the Corporate Transparency Act. We have the attorneys from Snell and Wilmer with us to talk about that federal requirement, and the beneficial ownership information requirements that tie to that. And then on May 14th, we're going to dive deep into the state small business credit initiative. And part of that program is we're going to be discussed in today's webinar. So we're going to have a much deeper dive into that on May 14th. We've got a great lineup, not just for the next 3 weeks, but throughout the whole summer. We hope you can join us for those. Today's session is going to be presented by Martin Cordova and Martin Mendoza. Martin Cordova is a business development officer at Prestamo CDFI, and Martin Mendoza is a business advisor at Prestamo CDFI. One is a lender, one's a technical assistance support as the business advisor. So we're glad to have them with us, but we also have some other people on here as well that may speak. So we want to do some introductions. You see where it says ECA Albert Escobedo. Albert is our SSBCI Technical Assistance Program Manager. And then, of course, we have Faith, who's with us, who is our Small Business Programs Manager for the ACA. So we've got a great panel here. We do ask that in today's presentation, post your questions in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen, or on the side, wherever your control bars are for your Zoom. There's a Q&A box. It's real important to post them there. That way they don't get lost in the chat. And then we will use the chat for some interaction with all of you, since we can't see you, since your mics and your cameras are blocked. The chat's our interaction tool there. So with that, I want to go ahead and turn the time over to Martin and Martin for this presentation. Let them take over.
All right, thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Martin Cordova, as Robert mentioned. We're here to deliver the presentation and hopefully answer all your questions about program and how you can be ready for that capital readiness. So the presentation is Pathway to Prosperity, Navigating Capital Readiness for Arizona Entrepreneurs. And it's presented through the State Small Business Credit Initiative, SSBCI. My name is Martin Cordova, and I'm going to hand it off to my tocayo, Mr. Martin Mendoza.
Good morning, everybody. Martin Mendoza, Business Advisor at Prestamos. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the different programs. So the State Small Business Credit Initiative, SSBCI, is a credit initiative that nearly 10 billion programs to support small businesses and entrepreneurs in communities across the United States, and is to provide capital and technical assistance to promote the small business stability, growth, and success. Huge emphasis on that. We want to make sure you guys can grow steadily and at the end of the day be successful. So with the first one being access to capital, we do have the Arizona Loan Guarantee Program, which provides loan guarantees by partnering with lenders. So it's going to guarantee up to 50% of the principal on the loans. And we're going to talk a little bit about what does that mean for the loan process a little bit further on. But keep in mind that this is eligible for businesses for startup costs, working capital, equipment, inventory to purchase or construction, renovation, tenant improvements, of any eligible place of business. So there's different ways you can use the funds. Keep in mind, or the guarantee program. Keep in mind that it has to be for business purposes only. If you have to be eligible, you have to be in Arizona, small business, or an eligible nonprofit in Arizona, and you have to have fewer than 500 employees. And this is through the Arizona Commerce Authority, which is partnering with Clearinghouse CDF5, Lindustry CDF5, and Prestamo CDF5. The ACA does not make direct loans. Big emphasis on that everything is through the CDF5s that they're partnering with. The next one we're quickly going to go over is the venture funding, which is the Arizona Venture Co-Investment Programs, which makes directly equity investments in innovative seed and near early stage businesses in targeted sectors alongside institutional venture capital firms, established angel capital association, corporate VCs, and established accelerators and incubators. So if you want to learn more about this different part of the presentation, you can always click on the links. We'll put it there so you guys can learn a little bit more about this. And the third part of it would be the technical assistance. Martin?
Hi. Well, as important as funding is, it is also very important to be prepared to get that funding. So as you know, there's a huge component in the SSBCI program, which is the technical assistance part. This technical assistance part is precisely designed to prepare businesses, to prepare small business owners to actually being in a position to get that capital, to get those loans, to get to participate in those equity programs. We need to help people understand that there's a way, there's a road, and we're the participating institution are here to help them prepare. At Prestamo CD5, we have a lot of experience with the technical assistance programs. So we hope to really being able to participate also in that part. Thank you.
And real quick, while we're on this slide, so everybody knows Prestamos is the vendor that was selected to help with the financial advisory technical assistance part of this program. And we are finalizing our partner companies for the legal and accounting support. That'll be part of this technical assistance program. And the whole point of this program is to help businesses get funded. So there's various pieces to it, and Prestamos is going to be one of our key providers for the financial advisory piece, but they may also guide you to some other partners out in the ecosystem for technical assistance as well. So this is going to be a great program. It literally is starting. This is the first webinar that ties to the technical assistance program that we'll be doing over the next 5 years of this federal grant. So just wanted to throw that in there real quick.
Yeah, and please take advantage of it. I cannot emphasize enough about the importance of being ready as a small business owner whenever you're applying for financing. And all the resources are here to help you out. As we're going to go through the slides, you're going to realize that, okay, this is something I really got to take advantage of, especially if you're a startup and you need to work on those business plans, those projections to get you ready for the loan process. So really emphasize on taking advantage. So one of the things that we're going to cover on the webinar, and I'm hoping that you guys can take home, is knowing the debt financing and equity financing options that you have, knowing about the lending process, because not everything's going to be sugar-coated, and knowing what you need to have in order to have that capital readiness, how everything's assessed, how everything works on the back end. So those are the three main components that we're going to learn about today. So whenever we're talking about business financing, it is very common that new businesses start and at least for a certain time develop a little bit or no external funding. So whenever you want to start a business or start a new project, how are you going to fund it? So that would be your initial question, right? Where's the money come from? So we're going to talk about the different ways that you can gather the funds, and not necessarily coming out of pocket or just financing from personal funds or savings. So we always want to talk about the process of fundings as what's your end goal. So is it going to be for business activities, purchases, investments? So always keep in mind what's the end goal. Just don't take out money if you don't need to, if it's just going to be sitting in your savings account, because that's not the most practical way. It's just going to accumulate interest and it's just going to hurt you in the long run. So please make sure that whenever you think about getting access to capital, you come up with a plan or you have an ulterior motive for it. So one of the things that we're going to talk about first would be the two basics types. So we have the first one, which would be equity financing. Technically, think about it this way: it's a capital infusion in the business obtained through selling a stake in the company. It's considered this way: you're selling part of the business, and that can be transferred to an investor. The investor gets that part of it, and depending on the amount is what they say, or the involvement in the business and how the business is going to be run. So you have to be careful about this because it has its pros and cons. Some of the pros is that you don't have to pay the money since you technically sold part of the company to the investors. There's no creditors involved. The investor takes some of the risk depending on the amount of money they're putting into the company. And a lot of the things, they also bring expertise if they're seasoned or they're veterans in this type of investments. They can also bring their contacts, and they can help you in advising you on how to improve and grow the business so they can succeed. Because since they're involved in the business, they want to make sure they get a return of their investment. Then we always have the cons, which you're going to give part of the business away. You're going to be selling that section of it. You're going to have less control and less percentage or less earnings on your end at the end of the day because you're sharing that profit. So the investors are technically co-owners now. It all depends at the end of the day what your percentage is going to be. And that's something that you're going to have to come up on your own and do a self-evaluation or self-assessment on the business itself. So keep that in mind whenever you are thinking about that type of financing, that you're selling part of the business, but yet you don't have to pay it back, or you don't share as high as risk as if you are obtaining other type of financing. And then we have the number two, which is debt financing, which technically it involves borrowing money and paying it back. So if you have done car loans before, it works the same process. You ask for the money borrowed and you have to pay it back. And it's for a fixed period of time. So they can be anywhere from 2, 3, 4, 5 years, depending on the lender. There are many different forms of loans, and the details or how the loan is originated depends a lot on the institution. So a lot of the pros and the cons are going to vary depending on your situation. So the pro, the lender has no control over your business. So as a lending institution, we cannot tell you how to run your business. Once the loan is paid, the relationship ends legally. We don't. You're all said and done, and you know the cost of the capital up front. So you know what the payments are going to be. You know what the interest rate. You know all the terms and the conditions ahead of closing and funding. The cons, as you might know, you always have interest and fees that have to go with it, which depending on the market or the rates that you have, it can be a little bit costly. And the natural risk of not being able to pay on time is the constant downside. So you always have to make sure that you pay your monthly payments on time, so you don't have that risk of late payments or that mindset that you always have to make a payment for the next couple of years. So some specific classifications of ways to finance a business. We have equity financing and debt financing. Equity financing, we have angel investors, we have venture capital firms, corporate investors, or partnering with friends and family, which all of them highly, highly recommend that you do have some form of documentation, especially if you are dealing with friends and family. It's not because you're their family or friends, you're just going to handshake on it. Make sure you do have some form of legal barrier or contract to protect both parties. And then on the debt financing, we have the banks or the financial institutions like CDFIs that can help you with the loans. We have invoice factoring, which is basically payables if you get a contract and then they're going to pay you 45, 90 days out. We have crowdfundings, like different sources or different websites that can help you with that, or programs. And then we have personal loans from family and friends, which you can always have at different terms, or they're a little bit more flexible. But again, if you're dealing with family and friends, it's a very thread carefully relationship, especially because of the dynamic. So just to jump a little bit more into the conversation about the CDFIs, with Prestamos, what a CDFI means is that we're a community development financial institution, and our role is to support small businesses and startups via microloans. So we always want to make sure we have access to capital to those small businesses or startups that cannot go through the traditional financing like banks. And we always want to emphasize that we do provide technical assistance to help entrepreneurs to better manage their business. Uh, on many occasions, we have seen that the combination of both is essential and more than likely the best formula for business owners to succeed, because sometimes you need that additional help. It's not just the financing or the funding. Sometimes it's the guidance, especially if you know how to do the work, but you don't know how to manage the back end. I've seen a lot of different business owners that are really good at cooking or in landscaping. They know their trade, but as you all know, once you're starting a business or you're a small business owner, you're always a one-man team. You're always working on accounting, on marketing, and sometimes if you don't know that, the technical assistance can be huge for you guys, especially if you're just jumping into that new startup phase. So some of the essential stages of the loan application uh, would be 3 steps. So if you want to jump into this, think about it this way. First, it would be the application, the underwriting, and the loan. So everything would be divided into these 3 different phases, and all of them have their own different timelines and process. So keep in mind that it's not oh, I'm just going to apply and that's it. They're going to give me the money. No, it all depends on the business, on the applicant. So the applications vary a lot on case by case basis. So that's why you have to keep in mind that the process is going to vary by institutions, by businesses. So just to go ahead and keep thinking about that process, that you have to be a little bit more patient, and we're going to ask for specific documents to make sure you have a really strong package so we can get that yes and give you that access to capital. So during the application process, for example, you're going to work with the BDO like myself, and we're going to start talking about documents. We're going to ask for more than likely initially we're going to ask for personal taxes, business taxes if you already have some form of financials for the business, a profit and loss statement, general business information, so how the business is run, who manages what. And for startups, this is where the business plan and the projection is crucial. Since you don't have any foot track yet for the business, that's what we're going to need. That's your presentation to the underwriters, that this is what your business is, the services, how it's going to run, how profitable are you going to be for the next 2 years. So please keep that in mind. If you're a brand new business or startup 2 years and under, business plan and projections are going to be crucial. So once we start that application process, I keep asking you about the documents. I'm going to do an initial assessment just to figure out, okay, this is the chances or the probabilities of getting that yes. And we're going to talk about the things that we look for in some of the slides ahead. So keep that in mind. Then once we have your application ready, okay, we're ready for underwriting. We'll send that application to underwriting. They're going to do their financial analysis. They're going to make sure, okay, there is enough money at the end of the day to make the payments. We have the loan collateralized. So once everything's done, hopefully we get the yes. And then the loan closing, they're going to ask for different things. So making sure that you have your insurances, your permits, your lease agreements, everything ready on your end to start the loan or close the loan, and make sure you are ready to start the business or that project, just to make sure everything is secure. Think about it this way: whenever you're applying for a loan, is how do we mitigate that risk? So the less risky your application is, the easier it is to get you that yes. So that's one of the things that we're going to cover, as I mentioned, in the next couple of slides. So this whole process, in regards of timelines, it depends up to the applicant or up to the borrower, because it might take you a while to get your taxes. Some people haven't filed taxes for 2023, but they're a requirement. So it all varies. Usually, if you have everything perfectly done, it can take anywhere from a month and a half, just to give you an idea. But like I mentioned, it all depends on the borrower and the different things that keep happening. If they're going to ask you for insurance and the insurance takes a while, then it's an additional time. So it's things like that that may add to the timelines. So one of the main, or some of the main things that we're going to look for would be the 5 C's of credit. So whenever, as a lending institution or as a lender, we look for the 5 C's of credit. So it would be capacity, capital, conditions, character, and collateral. So please keep that in mind. That would be something that we want to make sure that you guys learn or take home at the end of the day. So the first one we're going to talk about would be capacity or cash flow. Cash flow is technically, how can I make sure that you have enough money at the end of the day to make that monthly payment? So we have to make sure that there's cash flow through your finances, through your projections, just to make sure that you can make that monthly payment comfortably without stressing out. If we don't have cash flow, that would be the first red flag in your application. So think about it that way. One of the main things you're always going to hear them talk about, especially with lenders, would be the debt service coverage. So technically, again, that just means how much money you have at the end of the month to make that monthly payment. So they're usually looking at about 1.15 to 1.5 ratio. If you hear that saying. So you have to understand also a lot of your debt obligations. So they're going to ask you for a balance sheet, so they know, okay, your monthly expenses for the business is X. We have to make sure that enough money is coming in to cover everything, plus the additional debt that you're going to incur. So if you just want to summarize this, cash flow would be, how can I prove with all the documents that you have enough money to make the monthly payment? The next one would be capital. So with capital, is technically your personal investment. So they want to make sure you're as committed as we are as a lender to the project. For the most part, they're going to ask you between 10 to 20% equity injection or capital injection on your end. And that can be anything from money that you already invested into the business, money that you're going to set away for closing costs, or money that you're going to put away for working capital. So there's different things that capital injection or equity injection can look like, but we just want to make sure that you also are as involved as we are. So if you're, let's say, if you're borrowing 50,000 with closing fees, third-party fees, and just any additional costs that you're going to incur, they are going to ask you for that 5% to 20%, which would be the 5 to 10,000. So keep that in mind. One of the main things we also look at would be the conditions. So we want to make sure that this is a safe investment, or is something that you have done your research on. So we're going to look at the strengths and weaknesses of the business, or what you're going to use the funds for. So we're always going to make sure, okay, if you're borrowing money, what's the purpose? So they're going to ask you for maybe like a quote, an estimate. What's the end goal of that ask? So they're always want to know what's the risk behind it. If you're going to set up a brand new restaurant, okay, do you know the industry? What's your experience? Where is it going to be located? We want to make sure that you have a higher rate of succeeding into this project. So we want to make sure that this is a safe uh, loan, technically, or that you are doing your research. So one of the things that we also are going to look at would be credit, or your character, or in this case. So we want to make sure that you know your credit score. If everything is okay, for the most part, if you are, keep in mind that this is a lot of different borrowers ask for a personal guarantee. It's not uncommon to have that on the loan. So we want to make sure that you have a good record of it. Think about it this way: if you are asking for borrowed money when you already owe several people, where you have collections, when you have late payments, it doesn't reflect well on your application. So we want to make sure that if you do have a bankruptcy, please make sure you disclose it. If you do have collections, if you have late payments, let us know ahead of time. Work with your BDO, because we want to make sure that we know ahead of time what we're up against, so we can help you mitigate those risks. So in our case, through Prestamos, as long as we take care of those collections, get on a payment plan, pay them off, just make sure you get back on track, we should be fine. The bankruptcies, make sure that discharge within 4 years, 4 years or more. If it's a fairly recent bankruptcy, for most financial institutions, that would be an automatic decline. But keep track of those credit inquiries before moving into the loan process. You can do your own run credit check. Just run it, make sure that, okay, this is what's going on with my credit. How can I mitigate, or how can I fix it before moving into the loan application? And then we have collateral. So how do they secure the loan? So it's not uncommon for lenders to ask you for collateral. So it can look as different things. It can look like a personal asset or a business asset. So a lot of the things that can look like residential or commercial properties, we can use equipment like machinery, vehicles. So for the most part, they like to see a one-to-one loan value, and this is where, if you don't have enough to secure the loan, the SSBCI program can help you guarantee half of the loan. So it's a really good program to take advantage if you have that collateral shortfall, because this is where the 50% guarantee can come into place. Now that we have a good understanding of what financial institutions look at when receiving the application, are we ready to apply for a loan? It is possible. However, it's extremely important that we can also get familiar with the capital readiness concept, or in the world of the business lenders, loan readiness. So what does loan readiness mean? So it's a qualification in relation to a business financial health and credit worthiness. If say the business is loan ready, we mean that the business is eligible to apply for a loan. As we already covered, we look for that 5 C's of credit. It is certainly not a guarantee of approval, but it should be considered as the first step in the right direction. So if you think you have those 5 C's that the financial institutions are looking for, you are one step closer to getting that yes. Again, it's not a guarantee of approval, but it just means that you have a really strong application and a pretty good chance of getting that funding. So the loan readiness assessment is the process of evaluating the readiness. It's not necessarily a formal procedure. However, this is something that we work with you as a BDO to during that conversation process, just to assess, okay, what are your chances of getting that yes? So please, important things to keep in mind about taking on capital debt. So a bad loan where the borrower ends up defaulting is not only damaging to the lender, but also for the borrower. The road to recovery can be long and very difficult. Keep in mind that if you are borrowing money, you have to pay it back, and it comes with interest. So if you default on it, it can impact you as well as it can impact us. So keep that in mind. We should embrace the initial loan readiness assessment and advice offered by financial institutions, staff, as something helpful and as part of their service. If a loan is possible, they will help you find the way. So basically, we are here to help you get that access to capital. But please keep in mind that if we say no or this is not a good time, it's not a definite no. It's no, not right now. Why? Because you might have issues with collateral, credit, maybe the business plan is not ready. So we are looking out in your best interest at the end of the day, because we want to make sure that you're able to repay that debt and not getting any more financial difficulties. So keep that in mind. If we do have that assessment and have that conversation where we tell you, hey, this is not a good time for you, or the application still needs some work, it's not that we're saying no, it's that we need to work on X thing to make sure you have a better chance of approval. And one of the main things to keep about would be transparency. Be as transparent as possible, because one of the things that hurt a lot of the loan process is those little lies where you don't disclose what's going on with your credit, or if you have collateral but it's owned by somebody else. Those are a lot of the things that uh, pause the process, and at the end of the day can cost you that funding. So many people who run very small businesses or who are just starting out believe that the loan can fix any problem they encounter. But the truth is, more money isn't always the answer. So please keep that in mind. If you are looking for a loan, have a specific intention for that money. Just don't ask for the money to have it in your account sitting pretty, again, because you're paying interest on top of it. And at the end of the day, if it's just sitting in your account, you're technically losing money. So if you are going to use it, make sure that it's growth for growth or expansion projects. If you need a second location, if you need to go into a bigger space, to take advantage of new opportunities. So basically, if you are buying out competition, if you have new contracts that you need to capitalize on, and if you need to buy new equipment just because you need it, or you need to get the latest machine available. Again, those are some of the goals or the stuff that can help you with the loan.
Hey, Martin, I like to point out here on the purchase of equipment or other needed supplies and inventory. Oftentimes we see small businesses will spend their cash on those items instead of getting a loan, and then they run out of cash, and it hurts their business. And then at that point, they also becomes much more difficult to get a loan. So if you're looking at equipment and things, oftentimes, even though you may have the cash to buy it, a loan might be a better option for your business. And that's where the business consultants like Martin Mendoza can help out as well.
Yeah, and thank you, Robert. That's a really good point, because I have seen it a lot, especially if you think about it. If you have been here in Arizona for a while, it's a seasonal state. In the summer, everything dies, everybody gets out of the state. So a lot of businesses deplete their cash reserves, and during the month when they're already struggling, they go ask for a loan, and that's not the best time. If you're already in the hole and you basically don't dig out another hole to cover the other one, because that's just going to get you in more trouble. So make sure you get ready for the loan ahead of time. That way you don't run into that process, right? Or into that issue where you run out of money, and then that's when you start working in this process, because you don't know how long it's going to take, and it might not be available in time. So, what small businesses can expect when talking to a lender or other staff at financial institutions? First, you need to be ready to handle those initial conversations with the mentality that you're going through a loan readiness assessment. So, we're prepping you for that process. So, you have to be patient, because, again, it is a commercial lending and personal lending, it's completely different. So, you're going to have to be a little bit more patient on that end. And you have to understand that a lot of the questions will be coming your way. We're going to be very picky when it comes to those questions. We can ask things like, who runs the kitchen, who runs marketing, what type of marketing do you do, what's your schedule, or what hours will you be operating. So patience is going to be key. Make sure you're organized with your documents, especially with the taxes. Sometimes when we ask for taxes, we ask for the whole package, and people just send us the first 2 pages. So those are a lot of the back and forth things where we're missing a page, we need it. And it can get tedious, but again, if you already know ahead of time that you need this documentation and there's going to be a lot of back and forth, it's going to make the process a lot more tolerable for you. And one of the main things that, again, I highly recommend, especially if you're a startup, it's work with technical assistance. And this is where Martin Mendoza can help you out.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Martin. Yeah, we have to remember that in institution like ours, luckily enough, we have a business advising team. And basically that means, among other things, that the process of loan readiness, or to discussing loan readiness, starts earlier. And by early, I mean before getting into in front of the lender. It's natural to feel overwhelmed by a barrage of questions. But again, preparation, preparation, preparation. That's what it is about, particularly on the financial part. And by the financial part, I don't only mean what Martin just mentioned about having the tax ready and having your financial ready and everything nice and neat here, but also understanding it, or trying to understand it at least as much as possible, right? We can expect a lot of questions. Some of them will be softball, really, really easy to answer. Some of them will be curveballs, where you will really have to think about it. Maybe you are not a finance guy, but again, preparation is the key. The only way to not feel overwhelmed, the only way to feel that a ton of things is coming upon us, is, again, just being prepared. And that's exactly the advantage of working with a technical assistance team, with a business advisors, before actually initiating the business, the loan application process. Thank you, Martin.
Okay, so the do's and don'ts of the loan readiness assessment. So again, I cannot emphasize, please be patient and understanding with the process. If you haven't done it before, the first time is going to be kind of like pulling teeth for you if you're not very organized. But once you do it that first time, the next time it's going to be way easier. You already know what you're going to be up against. You already know what you're going to have ahead of time. And it's going to help you create that sense of organization where you already know the documents that you're going to need ahead of time. So that's one of the things that we're going to help you with, is knowing the timelines, knowing the documents that we're going to need. Keep your answers as straightforward and consistent as possible. Avoid giving conflicting information. So when we ask you about ownership and management, or what's going on with your credit, be as transparent as possible, because we are your voice as a video. I am the one who represents you to the underwriter, and I'm basically vouching for you that you're a good application, that you're ready for a loan. So I need to know, okay, what are you hiding in the closet? So I know ahead of time how to answer those questions. So we are on your side. Cannot emphasize that enough. If you're lying to me, at the end of the day, your credibility is gonna go. Yeah, it's gonna get you nowhere. It's not gonna help you out if you lie to me ahead of time, and then we find out, okay, you were hiding something in your credit, or this is what's going on with the business. So we want to make sure we address all that ahead of time, so we know how to mitigate that issue. Make sure you have all your business information ready to show. So make sure that all your documents are on a PDF or on paper format, and we have them ready to just present. That's usually a lot of the holdups on the lending process, is not having the documents ready. If we are waiting for taxes to be filed, then we have to wait for that process to take care of. So it can prolong the application by months if we don't have them ready. So keep in mind, lastly, that the business loan is in nature something more complicated than a consumer loan. The terms are different, the rates are higher. A lot of people keep coming to us and saying, well, my home loan is 3% at 30 years. And that's not how the commercial loans work. So rates right now are a little bit higher than 3% compared to commercial loans, especially because they're based on the market right now. And the terms depend on the institutions. Some of them can offer you 5 years, some 10, some 15. It all depends on the lender. So just to give you that idea. Another one that we have is not having an express purpose, or not knowing what to do with the funds. So we already expressed that multiple times already, that you have to know ahead of time what you're going to use the money for. Show that you're in a hurry and you don't consider the conversation important. So make sure you give everybody their due time and importance. Assuming or expressing that the system always works against you. Again, we're not saying no, we're just saying not right now. And the reason why we do it is because we know by experience that we don't want to drag you through the process just to give you a no at the end of the day. We're trying to save you that time and heartache, basically. And emphasize again, transparency, being clear with your answers, being straightforward. If we get a lot of if and buts during the conversation, for us, that is a red flag. Like there's something going on, that you're going back and forth between answers. And lastly, it would be not being prepared, not having the information on hand, and being very disorganized. Additional preparation. So quick tips: being able to explain what you need the money for. So if you need a new vehicle so you can deliver, let us know ahead of time. This is the vehicle that I need, or this is the make and model that I'm looking for, and this is the price range. So we want to make sure you are as prepared as possible. That way we know ahead of time, okay, that is the price point that you're looking for. This is what we can do. And match your excitement with the real details of your project. So be realistic about it. If you know you're going to ask for X amount, be prepared for the outcomes, right? So terms, the conditions, and remember that the loan process can take several weeks and months depending on the lender. And again, that's also varied on the documents that we're going to need and how fast can the borrower or you can give us those documents. Important notes to keep in mind. Remember that business loans are usually not granted but for covering overdue expenses like back rent or late payroll. So if you're already falling behind, it's not the best thing to ask for a loan. You cannot cover a hole with another hole. Remember that it will be highly probable that you will be asked for personal guaranteeing of the business loan. This is common on most loans. You might need to contribute your own funds to the business or that capital injection. And this is what shows that you're committed. Keep your financial documents like profit and loss statements and balance sheets up to date. That again goes back to how ready are you with the documents. This is one of the ones that holds a lot of the applications, not having a profit and loss statement up to date. So now that we're ready, do you guys have any questions? More than happy to answer any of them.
Excellent. Thank you. Great presentation. Please post up any questions you have in the Q&A, and we got some time, we can answer questions. And while we're waiting for some of you to type in some questions, I do want to note that on our website, it's posted, but we're fine tuning it. We have an SSBCI technical assistance webpage, and on there we have a funding readiness checklist, which is a one-page document, or it's a PDF, an interactive PDF where you can type in the answers to various questions that are similar to what Martin just covered on being prepared, capital readiness, to see where you're at in that process. And then you can take that and leverage that with the technical assistance program or with other technical assistance service providers to help get you prepared to then go after a loan if that's something you're looking for. A key there is Prestamos is not our only partner with technical assistance. There are a lot of other service providers out there that can help with no-cost business assistance, such as the Women's Business Center, SCORE, which is the Service Corps Retired Executives. It's an SBA-backed program, and also the Small Business Development Centers, which is also an SBA-backed program and a community college-backed program that we at the ACA also support. So there are a number of no-cost programs to help support you in your business, to help you prepare, plan, and grow. So it looks like we have one question in there. Can you help with investor readiness also? Yes, we can. That one, so that's something that we can help with as part of this program. Specifically reviewing pro formas, assumptions, strategy, etc. Yeah, we can look at that and provide some feedback. So can some of those other programs, some of the SBDCs and others, but we can definitely look at that. There's also some business programs out there that may be able to help through some pitch competitions and other things to review some of those pro formas. So great question. Again, if you have any questions, please post those up in the Q&A, where we're glad to help over the next few minutes, but we can also give you a few minutes back in your day. There's no problem with that either. So Martin, if they want technical assistance with Prestamos, who should they reach out to? Just that same number on the screen?
Yes, yeah, they will be handled with by the intake team, and then the intake team will be, depending on the needs of the business calling, they will be assigned to one of the team members in the technical assistance team, one of the business advisors. There will be an intake process just to set them up in the system, and we'll go from there.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Well, we don't have any other questions. So again, we want to thank Martin Cordova and Martin Mendoza from Prestamos for sharing this great information with us. We appreciate their time and their expertise. And we thank all of you for being attendees with us on this Tuesday morning. And we hope to see you next Tuesday for our next session. Until then, everybody have a great week, and we will see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.